This is Dave Wirt with your Ag Market News Weekly Summary. This week in Pennsylvania we had 3,448 head of cattle compared to 2,645 last week and 4,025 a year ago. Compared to last week's market, slaughter steers sold about 50 to $1 higher, Holsteins were steady to $1 higher, and heifers were about $1 to $2 higher. Slaughter cows sold mostly 50 to $1 lower. Bulls were about $1 to $3 higher. Steers high choice and prime 126.75 to 129.50. Choice was 121 to 125.50. Selects were 113 to 119. Holstein steers high choice and prime were 109.75 to 111.50. Choice were 103 to 106.25. Selects were 95 to 101. Heifers high choice and prime this week we were at 124 and a quarter up to about 126. Choice was 120 to 122.75 and selects were 114 to 119. Cows breakers were 68.25 to 72.25. Boner 66 to 70. Lean was 60.50 to 65.50. Average dressing bulls this week were about 85.75 to 88.75. Feeder cattle were mostly steady. There wasn't a large run this week. Steers 300 to 500 pounds, medium and large frame one were 130 to 140. 500 to 700 pounds were 129 to 140. Heifers in the same range, 300 to 500 pounds were 115 to 126, and heavier were 113 to 125, and bulls, medium and large frame 130 to 500 pounds, or 129 to 156, 500 to 700 pounds, or 118 to 130. Calves this week we had 3,072 compared to 2,210 last week, and 3125 a year ago. Holstein bull calves this week sold about $10 to $15 lower, and heifers were about steady. Number one Holstein bulls 95 to 120 pounds, $1 to 115. Lighter calves were 85 to 102. Number twos were running about 85 to $1. Number threes were around 60 to 80. Number one Holstein heifers were 124 to 145. Number twos were 85 to 110. Hogs this week there was 949 compared to 1139 last week and 1212 a year ago. Compared to last week's markets, barrels and gilts sold steady to $1 lower. Sows were about $1 to $2 lower. Barrels and gilts 49 to 54% lean was 63 to 65, 45 to 49% lean were 57 to 60.50. 300 to 500 pound sows were 52 to 56, heavier sows were running 61 to 63.50. Sheep and lambs this week there was 2,295 compared to 1,762 last week and 1,845 a year ago. Compared to last week, lambs were about steady to $5 lower, and sheep were mostly steady. Choice lambs 40 to 60 pounders were 120 to 124, 60 to 80 pounders were 120 to 134. And 80 to 110 pounders were 106 to $132. Good ewes 100 to 120 pounds were 68 to 80. 120 to 180 pounders were 68 to 88. Utilities were running about 56 to 66. Goats there was 2,052 compared to 2,637 last week and 1,930 a year ago. Compared to last week, kid goats were about $10 to $20 lower. Nannies and billies were about $5 to $10 lower. Goats are sold by the head with weights estimated. Selection kid 40 to 60 pounders were 96 to $106. 60 to 80 pounders were 108 to $135. 80 to 100 pounders were 110 to $134. Selection 2s 40 to 60 pounders were 88 to $100. 60 to 80 pounders were 100 to $118. And 80 to 100 pounders were 90 to $110. Selection 3s 40 to 60 pounders were 68 to $78. Selection 1 nannies 80 to 130 pounders were 124 to $137. 130 to 200 pounders were running around 122 to 130. Selection 2s 80 to 130 pounders were 90 to 92. Billies this week, number 1s 100 to 150 pounders were 158 to $175. 150 to 250 pounders were 175 to $184. Selection 1 wethers 100 to 150 pounders were 172 to $245. Selection 2s around the same weights were running about 128 to $160. This is Dave Wirt for Ag Market News. Have a good week.